Billy Welch.
Charles Edward Welch Sr., my grandpa, was born in Edmond, Oklahoma. After joining the Air Force and getting married, he stayed in California just long enough to have 4 kids. Then they all moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where he stayed until November 2nd, 2013, the day he died. He went to the hospital to fight pneumonia, and while there, the doctors found colon cancer. They removed it, but several days later, his lungs began to fill up with fluid. Then all of a sudden, he had a heart attack and his brain went 20 minutes without receiving oxygen. 12 hours later, his left lung collapsed and we lost him. One of the proudest times of his life was being a Rotarian in the Rotary Club of Southeast Tulsa. He was even president at one point. After he left so that he could take care of my grandma full-time, he held on to the core values of Rotary and instilled them within my sister and me. And we hold on to them. Now that I know what the 4-way test is, I'm able to look back on what I remember of his life and see how he demonstrated each of the 4 aspects. So of all the things he thought, said, and did, number 1, was it the truth? My grandpa was a very honest man in both his work and with his family. In his insurance business, he was unwilling to make any sort of deal that would jeopardize his morals. The integrity of his associates was worth more to him than the number on the paycheck that would come in the mail. He was never afraid to share stories of mistakes from his past. I recall him mentioning several times a camping trip he went on with my dad, 3 aunts, and grandma. He wanted to make potatoes the way the Indians made them by wrapping them in aluminum foil and placing them in the ground so that the sun could cook them. He returned several hours later with his starving family to find that all that was left was a small black rock of burned potato. He frequently shared anecdotes such as this to show us that everyone makes mistakes, but only those with integrity and honesty will admit them. Number 2, was it fair to all concerned? My grandpa did his best to treat my sister and me equally. If he gave one of us one thing, he would give the other something of equal value, just to show us that he didn't play favorites. He believed in an equal chance for everyone. One day, when he was training in a field in Norman with around 20 of his Air Force buddies, an F3 tornado touched down near enough to them that it blew their big truck around. They found a ditch, linked arms, and dug their fingers into the ground, because if one of them was going to go, they were all going to go. Because of their no man left behind mentality, no lives were lost in that field that day. Number 3, did it build goodwill and better friendships? During the last few years of my grandpa's life, my grandma became a prisoner to dementia then Alzheimer's. Every morning, she would wake up begging for us to take her home. Home to her was a place that she hadn't lived in 20 years. Then she would get mean. She would say rude things, and kind of verbally abusive towards my grandpa. His goodwill allowed him to see that it wasn't really her, and to just love her more and more every day. My family and I don't know exactly how many friends he had, but what we do know is that during the 2 weeks he was in the hospital, even when he was in a coma, there was a steady flow of visitors coming to see him. They went out of their way just to say hello, even when they knew that he couldn't say it back. Number 4, was it beneficial to all concerned? Because my sister and I spent so much time with my grandpa during such an impressionable time in our lives, he taught us many things that we will hold on to forever. He taught us that hard work pays off. Every fall, we would go to his house and pick up the sweet gum spiky balls that had fallen off the tree in his yard. He would pay us a penny for each one that we picked up. And every time, we would each walk away with around $40. He taught us that sometimes bad things happen, but the life just goes on. Anytime something bad would happen, we knew there was a pun or a corny joke just around the corner waiting to cheer us up. He taught us that learning is important. He was always learning something new, whether it was the average wingspan of a bald eagle or how to turn his computer on. It didn't really matter as long as he was learning. He inspired the desire that my sister and I know how to learn. I truly believe he's one of the reasons that I am now one of the valedictorians in a class of 1,100 and will go to college with around 20 hours of credit already obtained. Finally, he taught us that the world is bigger than ourselves. He kept us up to date on current events, and we frequently talked about politics. He gave us resources such as maps, books, and globes to teach us about other countries, their governments, their cultures, and their poverty levels. He wanted us to see that we should be grateful for everything that we have and not take anything for granted. After analyzing his life through the eyes of these 4 questions, I have come to the conclusion that he has passed the test, and I would like to thank Rotary for helping to make him who he was. Thank you.